the history of communist China, and probably now, even though they're run by the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, which you'll see on signs sometimes in Hong Kong, they may not really be very communist. They are, however, totalitarian. The one thing that did not suffer at all from traveling halfway across the world was that Starbucks was everywhere. And I had in Hong Kong, Starbucks was directly across the street from my hotel. I stumbled upon that because I like to look at where I'm going, and I'll get on Google Maps and take a peek, and then and just turning it a little bit, all of a sudden there's a Starbucks there. Starbucks was, I think, maybe a block from my second hotel in Taipei. There was a Starbucks around the corner from my hotel in Taichung. And then back in Taipei, the next time there was a Starbucks just down the street, a block. So, and all kinds of other places too. And I got to eat some food and drink some things that weren't Starbucks, but it is interesting how that company and 7-Eleven was everywhere in Taiwan. And someone told me, I hadn't bothered to Google it, but someone told me that 7-Eleven, which is, I thought was an American company, is a Taiwanese company. I don't know whether it is or not, but boy, they were everywhere, absolutely ubiquitous in Taiwan. And I understand that Taiwan has the highest per capita rate of convenience stores. So very, very convenient place and
You had,
neat.
you had an experience at your local Starbucks when you got back, though, correct?
Yes, and that's one of the things we've talked about numerous times is the fact that governments don't do so well at policing other governments and standing up for things. And I think we found this week in a couple of different commentaries. I had the commentary about stand by your tweet, as the general manager for the Houston Rockets tweeted, "Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong." And then, got some pressure from the Chinese totalitarians, and through their economic power, through the NBA, all of a sudden he deletes his tweet. So he didn't exactly stand with Hong Kong. And of course, I don't know that we can trust big corporations who obviously want to make money and who may not have any political conscience or respect for human rights or desire to pull back even in the slightest from their economic pursuits of the moment, to look at the long term and freedom. But the beautiful thing is people do care, and people all over the world care. And I got a little bit of that, a feel for that when I got back, because I did a couple commentaries, and I go to a local Starbucks, and one of the guys there is a friend on Facebook and reads my commentaries, and I'm placing my order, and he tells me he has already deleted his Blizzard account. And Blizzard Entertainment is a gaming site, and they kicked one of their gamers off for a year. They took away his winnings. Blitzchung who is was in this tournament and did very, very well. But after the tournament game was over, he, in an interview, says, "Liberate Hong Kong," and it was kind of a funny thing because he wore a gas mask and took his gas mask off to say "Liberate Hong Kong," but he lives in Hong Kong, and he felt like, as he told reporters, this is my life. I've got to do something. I've got to stand with what's right. And it was very refreshing, and even more refreshing that the young man at Starbucks didn't need much prompting to say, if they're going to punish someone who stands up for freedom, I'm deleting my account. And I think, we have talked about in different commentaries and videos some of the rush in the United States to, we're going to boycott this person and we're going to shame this person and we're going to attack this person for things that seem to me to be probably not worth having that level of scorched earth attitude and always drawing lines and confronting everybody constantly about every breath they take. But as we posted on Saturday, a number of videos about China, the history of communist China, and probably now, even though they're run by the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, which you'll see on signs sometimes in Hong Kong, they may not really be very communist. They are, however, totalitarian. And the level of surveillance in China, the level of oppression against the Uyghurs. There's estimates that 1 million people are in concentration camps, and camps that deserve to be called concentration camps in the sense that these are political prisoners who are being, re-educated. It's absolutely horrifying, and I think that our American companies, American corporations, multinational corporations, politicians, our government, they're not going to do much. At the end of the day, they cannot be trusted to hold the line and do what's right against a totalitarian power that's ready to take away the freedom of the people in Hong Kong, that's already taken away the freedom of 1.3 billion Chinese. It's going to require you and I and our listeners and real people out there to say, I care enough to find ways and to take advantage of obvious ways to hit back and say, we don't want our world to be run by totalitarians. We don't want to live in a nightmare dystopia that makes, Orwell's 1984 look like a picnic. And I'm buoyed by the fact that I think people will step up and do that. But I think that those of us who care about freedom, we have to find more and more ways to connect with people all over the world, not just in America, but all over the world as individuals, not as Americans and Chinese and Taiwanese and Germans and French people, but as individuals. And we need to use our economic might, which is a lot. We need to figure out how to use that to effectively demand a freer society in the U.S., worldwide. Let's bring some of our strength to bear. And it all came home to me, waiting for my drink at Starbucks and realizing that the young man who's running the register cares enough to have already taken some important action. It also was nice to see in a couple of games in the U.S., the Chinese Basketball Association sent a couple teams to the U.S. to play some games. We sent some teams to China. This is a wonderful thing, except that if nobody can have any free speech, it kind of takes away all the fun. But in both Washington and Philadelphia, where the games were played in the U.S., there were efforts in the stands, people chanting, free Hong Kong, people wearing T-shirts, holding up signs. And, it was the kind of thing that I think put the NBA on notice that they may worry about China and whether China is going to foot the bill for certain things they want done, but they better worry about their bread and butter original fan base, because we are not interested in having totalitarian China push us around.